You know what? I'll just say this. Is the grocery store gonna get mad at me if I complain about the carts not being returned?
Wait, what?
Like if I come on the podcast and complain about something or talk about something,
Yeah.
am I supposed to talk about no people, places, or things while I'm here?
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
Hello everyone, how are you today? I hope that you're having a really good day so far. If you are new here, my name is Taylor. I come to you from Baltimore City, Maryland, and here on my YouTube channel, I feature content that is generally focused on knitting and spinning. In today's episode of what I call the Thread to Mend podcast, I'm gonna sit down and share with you a couple of the knitting projects I'm working on. We're gonna delve into the garden zone for a little bit. I did do a lot of holiday decor around the house I'm excited to share. And I have a couple perfumes from Dossier to talk about. I'm gonna start off with that. I did pick out a couple new fragrances from Dossier. If you're not familiar with them, they are an affordable fragrance house that keeps their expenses low to pass on those savings to consumers. So all of their products come in the same box with the same packaging and the same bottle. Every bottle comes with a little card that tells you about it. This one is Fougère Oud. I think I said that right. I really am not sure. This perfume is inspired by Tom Ford's Oud Wood. It is a 15% concentration and it has top notes of rosewood, tobacco, pink pepper, coriander, middle notes of oud, patchouli, and vetiver with base notes of tonka bean, labdanum, and cedarwood. This one I like. Do I love it? I don't know. I think that there are other fragrances that I'm truly in love with. Dossier's inspired fragrance of Le Labo's Gaillac Wood is one of those. I'm obsessed with Dossier's version of that fragrance. This one is nice. It's woody. I think it's a deeply unisex fragrance. I think anybody can pull off this perfume here. And then the second one I bought is clearly a men's cologne, which is just not up my alley. I did purchase it hoping that I would really like it and Brian might be interested in wearing it. But I feel like it's just a little too manly. Like it smells like a man. So I should have anticipated that because Dossier has this system of labeling their bottles where if it's in black, it's a very masculine cologne. If it's in gold, it's unisex. And if it's in red, it's a deeply feminine perfume. So you can kind of get a sense of what you're shopping for based on that color system. This is Woody Vetiver by Dossier. It's inspired by Frederic Malle's Vetiver Extraordinaire Eau de Parfum. And the top notes are pink pepper, bergamot, bitter orange. Middle notes are vetiver, cedarwood, myrrh, and base notes are sandalwood, musk, and oak moss. So I'm really into woody fragrances right now, and I thought I would like this one based on the notes, but I just don't know. It feels like too much of a cologne fragrance, especially in the dry down. I sprayed a little bit on this piece of paper earlier today to see if I might have changed my mind, and I really haven't. I'm just not the biggest fan of this one. And Dossier did send these to me for free, which I'm so grateful for. But if you ever purchase from their website and you don't like what you order, their return process is painless. You just, like many other websites, you tell them what you want to send back and you take it to the post office or have it picked up and it's easy breezy, lemon squeezy. I have bought many fragrances from Dossier, sent them straight back, and I had no trouble at all navigating their website to do that. So I'm sure that they have a really great Black Friday sale going on right now, and it's worth checking out. I do have a coupon code below if you're interested in using that. I think you'll save 10% off your order. And that's that. Back to the subject of knitting. I, as you might already know, have been working on Andrea Mowry's Throwover, and I was in bed knitting one night and I noticed that Shibby really needs a bath. And it's finally cold here in Maryland, and Shibby has been wearing her hand-spun, hand-knit wool sweater, and I realized that I don't have a backup wool sweater for her to change into after her bath time, so I thought I would stop everything I'm doing and whip up a sweater for her. So I crafted a replica of the Throwover for my little dog. So this is it. I'll tell you a little bit about how I did this. So I started by taking my soft tape measure and I wrapped it around Shippy's neck about where I want the sweater to rest. And I found the proper amount of stitches to cast on. I cast on 56 stitches for my gauge, and then I knit 2 purl 2 for 1 inch to start the ribbing. I then I knit a couple rounds and then I increased. I knit 4 stitches and then did a make 1 to increase my stitch count to 70, at which point I then began the first chart, which is obviously I'm using Andrea's pattern, but I shrunk the whole thing down slightly. So I did just 1 round of each of the contrast colors for the first chart. Following that, I worked another increase round where I think I brought my stitch count up to 84. And I determined how many stitches I wanted to increase based on how many stitches I would need for the chart to repeat properly, but also I took 2 more measurements around the chest of my dog. So I kind of took her collar, her mid shoulder, and then the width of her body, basically. And I worked the second chart in a modified version where I trimmed a stitch off each side of the repeat so that it is smaller on all sides. So it's not as wide and it's not as tall, but proportionally the same as the original. And then once I finished that chart, I split for the sleeves. I cast off 10 stitches for the first armhole. I knit 10 stitches and I'm keeping those on hold for a brief minute. Then I cast off 10 more stitches and then I worked back to the beginning of the round. And then I worked the back piece for about 4 rows. And with a second ball of yarn, I worked those same 4 rows along the front piece as well. And then I joined it back in the round again, casting on 10 stitches for each of the arms so that I again have the same number of stitches I did previous to the armholes. So these you can see are very horizontal. This is the first time I've knit a dog sweater with holes of this shape. I feel like they're gonna stretch out to be whatever they need to be regardless. And I do plan to pick up and knit a 2x2 rib arm sleeve to really finish them off. But right now, all I really need to do is continue working in the round until I have about the length of the sweater, maybe 1 inch shy. And I'm gonna pause to work back and forth to do a little short row shaping for the back end before I do that 2x2 ribbing to bind off. So I'm more than halfway done with this. I could finish it tonight. If I block it overnight, then I'll give Shippy a bath and change her into this sweater, which I just think is pretty darn cute. I still have a lot to do to wrap it up, but I'm definitely going to finish this before I'm close to finishing my own. I decided it was most important that I first decorate my home for the holiday because I want to have all my decor in place before Wednesday night before Thanksgiving. Personally, I decorate my house for the fall season at the beginning of September. So by the first and second week of November, I have had the fall season inside my house for over 2 months and I'm over it. I'm ready for winter. All of the trees that shifted color have lost a lot of their leaves by now, so things are a lot more subdued outside than they were previously, and I feel like I'd rather my house reflect that seasonal shift as well. You're probably laughing at me, but when I saw Taylor Swift came out with holiday merch, I knew I needed to jump on this. I have seen some of her snow globes up for resale at ridiculous prices. Not that I ever intend to do that, but I knew when I saw this gorgeous gold with glitter snow globe that I needed to have it. I love the mossy green roofed cabin. Being at home and decorating my home, being a homebody, I felt like this particular snow globe really resonated with me, and so I thought it worth the investment. It plays the song Cardigan.
When you are young, they assume you know nothing.
As you may already know, I plan to participate in Andrea Mowry's sock knit along this year for the very first time. If you've been watching my podcast for a minute, you know I do not knit socks. I am not a fan of sock knitting. I just don't enjoy the whole having to make two of them thing. So I think that if I have enough size 4 needles, I will try to work these 2 at a time. That is my plan. And I'm excited to cast these on this Wednesday. I did have a break in my yarn, so I ended up with 2 almost even skeins. Once again, we have been interrupted by a UPS package, which I'm going to unbox right now because I'm very excited for this. Urban Decay has, I think, everything 30% off right now, so I took advantage of the opportunity. I always feel that when I buy an eyeshadow palette, I'm wasting space by keeping so many shadows that I'll probably never even wear. And so I thought I don't know why I'm rationalizing this so much. I've been watching a lot of beauty YouTube lately. There's this one channel I found. She's not even like that huge online, but I really love the way she applies her makeup and the things that she likes, I like. So when I saw her talk about these shadows, I kind of just felt like I had to. I wish these came a little sooner because I would have put them on for today's video, but I picked up the legendary, iconic, very well-known Space Cowboy by Urban Decay. Ooh, I'm gonna get so much use out of this. It is super subtle. It's that color shifting sparkle. If it does have kind of a base color to it, it blends in with my skin so much that all you see is sparkle. And then I got Solstice. This one is a bit darker, and it's this kind of pinky blue shift. So you can see that that one has a bit more color to it, but it's very much a sister to the first one. And then the last is the deepest of the 3. This one is Lithium. Wow. These are like a topper shade. They're not going to give you deep color payoff, which I prefer. I actually don't really love to wear eyeshadow, but I love sparkly things. So that's exciting. I'm going to wash my hands in a moment, but I'm going to finish swatching my new stuff. They did send me a sample of their 24/7 Glide On eye pencil in black. That is very soft and it glides on effortless. It looks like you can really like smoke it out too and make it a lot more like subtle. So that is nice. I hope that I enjoy that. And then let's see what else. This I'm really excited about because I've been trying to find a red lip liner that works. And this one really does glide on well. I've seen a review online that it doesn't move or budge, so I'm gonna give it a second to dry down on my hand. It does have a very like pinkish red look, but I think that if I'm pairing it with whatever color, it'll match as well as any other. I did pick up the Vice lipstick in the color Bad Blood. I'm not sure if this is the red for me. I'll have to give it a try first, but it is a very pinkish red and I'd prefer a more orangey red. So we'll have to try it on and see. I don't know. But I'm going to give that a second to dry down as well. And then as part of a set, I bought this lip gloss. I wouldn't have normally bought it, but it felt like I was saving money. So let's see here. I really love plumping lip glosses. There's a certain ingredient in lip gloss. I don't know exactly how to say it. It's like polybutene that is just the most hydrating ingredient. If a gloss has it, I love it. Every time I sit down to record on Saturday, I feel the most inspired to really set a plan and follow the course. But by the end of Sunday, everything has changed. And I think last week I had wanted to finish the body of the sweater and have either the sleeves started or some other something accomplished before the sock knit along on Wednesday. But for some reason I just don't feel rushed because I'm enjoying the process of knitting this and I know it will be finished very soon, so I'm really not stressing. But I think if another week and a half go by and I haven't made any progress, I'm going to be wondering, what have I done with my life? And yet for some reason I don't just try to knit through the process of the video, which I'm going to try to do now that I've decided I should try to finish this dog sweater tonight. And if I do so, I can block it and have it dry by tomorrow so that Shippy can finally get the bath she very much needs. In last week's video, I spoke about my planned participation in Andrea Mowry's sock knit along, and on Wednesday night, we're going to cast on and knit through Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and by 12 p.m. on Monday, enter to win prizes in the Ravelry forum. I very much enjoy her weekly podcast episode. It's one of the few that I watch right away. There's another podcaster who I'm just like so impressed by. Her handle on YouTube is Young Folk Knits. She has the best sense of color and like her videography is gorgeous. Everything she does is just so beautiful. During last week's premiere, it could have been the week before. It feels like forever ago. But I was asked, who is my favorite designer? Because it does seem as though I love Andrea Mowry, which I do. And she probably is one of my absolute favorite designers. I would say Andrea is the most palatable, like the most digestible. Like she has, she's just so prolific. Like how can you miss Andrea? Like she's always out here with something new and something to consume and something to appreciate, whether it's old or new. Definitely one of my favorites. But instinctively, I felt like I had to give a shout out in that moment to Gudrun Johnston, who, I mean, I'll never get over how good the Shetland Trader Book 3 Heritage has been to me. I am obsessed still with the patterns in that book. It's by far one of the best knitting pattern books of all time. I mean, I am very in love with aesthetics from like the 70s and anything with a vintage vibe I adore. But I want to knit so many patterns from that single book that it just has, I mean, really blown me away. And I have still intentions of knitting more patterns from that book. I'm taking a little bit of a break from fingering weight because so much of my fingering weight is Shetland wool, and I can only really wear Shetland wool for a brief amount of time each year. I'm letting myself knit other fibers to kind of fill out my wardrobe in different ways. And I think I even have some non-Shetland fingering weight wool that I could knit into one or two of her pattern designs, but I'm taking a little hiatus from that very warm and insulating yarn construction. But Gudrun Johnston is one of my all-time favorite designers. I love, love, love that book. And when I went to the New York State Sheep and Wool Festival the previous year to 2022, I got the chance to meet her and view the sample sweaters from her book. And that just felt like one of those big moments for me where I'm in the presence of a star. I just so much admire what she's been able to accomplish in her pattern writing and knitting. I felt like the Ver pullover that I knit of hers was expertly written and it fit exceptionally well. It still does. I think next time I'll knit a bigger size just so that I have a little bit more room. I mean, I could reknit that sweater a million times and make it completely different each and every time. It feels like an unending amount of inspiration in that one pattern alone. And that is really, I mean, I've never been so impressed by a single person when I saw that book come out. When I got the chance to meet her, she had just spoken on stage with Mary Jane Mucklestone. And I've knit one of her sweaters as well, the Jenny at the Fair cardigan. I think that might have been my first cardigan. But she is one of the coolest women I've ever been in the presence of. I don't even know how to put it into words. She's just very cool. And when you meet a woman of her age, I'll say, I mean, she's older than me. Like, I don't know how old she is at all, but she's a mother and a mature woman. But when you meet a woman of her age that is so hip and cool and very much on trend in a way, but not like trying to be, like, she's just so effortlessly like cool. I just fell so deep in love with Mary Jane Mucklestone when I got to hear her speak. I just knew she is a brilliant woman, and she's another person that I very much look up to. And she just came out with a new pattern that I really like. It is the most genius construction. It is a triangular shawl that is worked in the round, and then you steek it, and the steek becomes the fringe, which I just think is totally brilliant. I recently subscribed to BritBox to expand my television viewing pleasure, and lately I've been watching a series called Cranford, because I saw that Taylor Swift's former boyfriend is in that series, and I wanted to find out who this guy was. And I love period dramas. I love British historical things. I have watched the BBC miniseries of Pride and Prejudice about 100 times. I need your recommendations. I would love to know if you are a BritBox viewer, if you have a favorite show you recommend. Let me know in a comment below or in the live chat if you're here on Sunday morning. That has been filling up a little bit of my time, but mostly I've stayed busy the last week working in the garden. I did a ton of work on Sunday. I think I was out there for about 5 or 6 hours, potting up new plants that I brought home, and I completely shifted things around along the right side yard, and I did do a fair bit of leaf work in my backyard and the backyard of my neighbor, but I have not yet completely cleaned up the alleyway. That's one thing I still need to do before I'm finished for the season. Each time I've gathered all the leaves back there, there's more falling, so it's an unending process, but one day soon all the leaves will have fallen and that work will be done. I do have my compost bins completely full right now. I mentioned last week that I fill my second bin up full of leaves to layer onto my actual compost bin as it continues to break down and as I add more things to it, but it hasn't been hot the last couple weeks, so I think I do need to turn it fully and get it hot again. You know, I think I need to decrease at the waist a little bit for this pattern because it is gonna flare out a bit too much after the shoulders. So I'm gonna add a center stitch marker here, and I'm just gonna decrease at the center when I get there. Yeah, so I've just been riffing this dog sweater. I'm having a lot of fun. By the way, I have so much that I want to accomplish in the coming week, and with all the extra time I'm gonna have in the holiday weekend. I'm thinking that I'm going to start my Vlogmas early this year. I've really been inspired by Raw Beauty Christie's daily vlogs. That said, this is it for this week's episode of the Thread to Mend podcast. I want to sincerely thank you all so much for watching. You all don't know how excited I am every Sunday to watch the premiere with you guys. It feels like my social engagement for the week.
I make loneliness work for me.
My best accessory? Loneliness.
If you want to reach out to me on social media, my name is Taylor E. Owen on Ravelry and Instagram. You can find me on TikTok as Taylor Knits. I want to thank you again so much for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful day and that you take care. Welcome to this week's garden tour. It is November 19th, 2022. We are in zone 7B and I have flowers blooming. How can you not love Rebecca? But I did a lot of shifting around. I need to touch up the paint on our door frame here, but I put some tall grass in that container. She's flopping over. I should probably cut her back for the winter. I'm not sure exactly how to best care for it, but I moved some strawberries into this container. I'm hoping that they will do well here. It seems like the sun will rise over those houses and it'll move over to that side of the house. So I think it'll get a fair bit of sun, but I do have lots of new things in containers over here. My begonia is still holding on, even though it is quite chilly. And the, what do you call that thing? Geranium? The geranium is putting on new growth still. My peppermint is doing exceptionally well, and the nasturtiums are about to keel over. But I have a Alberta spruce that I just picked up on impulse for the holiday. I put this grass here into this container as well. I just wanted something growing in these containers because previously I really didn't have the most success. But as you can see, I picked up a huge lilac shrub and she's really going to do well in this container, I think. I know it is like a tree, but that's a pretty good sized container. I'm going to put my hand up for reference. You can see she's quite big. I'm trying to propagate some creeping Jenny. It's probably not the right time of year, but even if one or two root before they die back, I'll be happy. This is kind of just a little propagation station I've had in place for a while. There's some bulbs tucked in there, a few little heuchera babies, and a anemone that I started last year. And I picked up this rose bush as well. And I moved my stinging nettles into this container box. I hope that they do well there. I also rearranged my heucheras slightly. I put a third matching here so that there are a few of the same kind. And over here I rearranged many different things. I put the hellebores that I had in that container box over there next to the other hellebores I had in place here. In that bare spot right here I have bleeding hearts that will come up in the spring and summer. And then I'm trying to propagate some more heucheras. I don't know if they will take. I think that they might still, but I don't know. We'll see how that goes. And here's just how things are looking right now. All the leaves are starting to die back on the black raspberries. And you can see that the horseradish has flopped over. I moved the ferns over around the bird bath. I think that they'll do a little bit better on that side of the yard. And that's about it. Oh, I also picked up another shrub for the front yard garden. Brian had me put it outside because I bought this at Home Depot, and the last time I brought home a plant from Home Depot, I brought a ton of spider mites into the house, which nearly devastated us. But this is a gorgeous camellia shrub. They bloom in the winter, and they are one of my favorites. They do well in the shade, and I'm gonna put this in the front yard garden. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. I'm not sure where that spruce will eventually end up. I don't love it on the tabletop. It feels a little out of place, but I'm not sure yet where it'll get the most amount of sun. My favorite blueberry shrub is putting on a lot of little buds for spring. This hanging basket is something that I have completely neglected all year round. I put a few violas in here in the spring and a couple other plants and just forgot about it entirely. This is a self-sown black-eyed Susan, and I think we have a tree growing right here. And these calendula, I think I planted and they restarted themselves from seed as well. I wish I had intentionally planted more calendula in this hanging basket. I think next year I will do that in the spring, and I'll make a very big and robust calendula basket to hang throughout the seasons, because they really do perform pretty well compared to many other things.